Welcome to Your Business, Your Life with Matt DiFrancesco, your personal financial quarterback. Whether you've had years of success in your business or are just starting out, DiFrancesco Virtual Family Office can help you create a vision for your business, life, and family and guide you toward the fulfillment of that goal. As they say, you can't choose your family, but you can choose your virtual family office. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Your Business, Your Life with Matt DiFrancesco. Today we're going to be talking about what a virtual family office really is. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I'm just great, Eric. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. Coming off of a great weekend and had a little bit of warmer weather this weekend. It was just a teaser. It only happened, for a few hours on Sunday, but we'll take it, right? We got the car washed, so.
Oh, well, that's always a good thing. That's always a good thing. It warmed up here, too. We're actually supposed to be in the 50s today, which is
nice.
Rare for us. But, hey, the groundhog saw a shadow, so, that's only about an hour away from me.
Oh, really? Punxsutawney, Is that what that is?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, that sounds like a good time. I've always heard about it, never been there, but I think that'd be kind of fun to attend. Have you ever been there?
Not for the groundhog. I've been to Punxsutawney too, but they get a couple 100,000 people going to that thing. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. Yeah,
that's a party.
It's a big party.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, today we're talking about what a virtual family office is, and a lot of people probably just don't know. I think they have a clue, as far as what that means, but I think there's also probably a lot of misconceptions.
That's exactly right.
All right.
Well, first off, I gave a little explanation in the first podcast of the family office, but to just a little more detail, the family office, it's basically a wealth management advisory firm that's designed to serve ultra high net worth investors. So what they do is they offer a total outsourced solution to manage the financial and investment side of an affluent family's life and business. Mm-hmm. So they offer investment management. They may offer banking, budgeting, insurance, charitable giving strategies, wealth transfer strategies, tax services, concierge services, those type of things. Mm-hmm. So it's basically like a one-stop shop that a affluent family can go to and basically have all of those different areas taken care of for them.
So that's a traditional family office is what you're saying?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
So the problems with the family office is, again, it's designed for ultra high net worth families. So the fees in many of those cases can run to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
So what I found is that most small family owned businesses, they need a lot of the same types of resources, but because they don't have access to them because of the cost. I mean, most of them can't afford that hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees. And the other problem with the traditional family office is most of those professionals, they tend to be in-house, they're employees. So they may not be the best of breed, or they might not always be looking at the best interest of the client, depending on how that firm is actually structured.
Mm-hmm. And what their role is. I mean, it could be something it just doesn't fit the needs of the family necessarily, but kind of fits the need of the family office.
Exactly. Again, I think it depends on whether they take a fiduciary role or not. And that can vary. You're never quite sure what you're running into with those.
Gotcha. And I'm just thinking of a small family business. Like you said, I've known quite a few small family businesses that they really are second and third generation, but they've kept it small. It's not something that they're not looking to expand. They're not looking to have this huge mark on the, on their state, or, they're going nationwide with things. They really truly run a small family business, and there's no way that they're going to be able to afford services that are running that high and fees that high, because part of the entire plan for a family business is to pass it on to the next generation. And when you have fees that large, that makes it really difficult.
That's exactly right. And it's even not just the small businesses, but even those businesses that might be doing 10, 15 million in revenue. Mm-hmm. That's the traditional family office is still out of reach for them. But yet they still have those complex issues that they need to address.
Yeah. So what is it about a virtual family office that takes care of that or alleviates some of that cost?
Well, the virtual family office, the idea is taking this concept of the family office, and because it's done virtually, it can be offered at a reasonable cost to the small business owner. So basically what I've done over the last 15, 20 years of being in business with family businesses is I've found a number of different professionals that I networked with who are experts in a lot of different areas. And what I do is I've basically vetted and partnered with a number of these outside experts who can help us to coordinate and execute a plan of action for the family and the business. Now, because they're not part of the firm, it's a separate relationship, but I can still bring them in when we have a solution and be able to quarterback that solution for the family. So it's taking, again, that whole idea of the family office, and because we're doing virtually, we can offer it at a much better fee than what the traditional family office can.
Gotcha. So, and again, this kind of speaks to I believe you said best of breed or cream of the crop when it comes to the professionals that you're working with. You have choices beyond somebody sitting in the office next to you that, oh, that's our insurance guy, or that's our whatever, our estate and a trust planning person. You're able to take a look and see what would fit best for that family, even if it's somebody that maybe the last client you worked with didn't work with. You have some choices out there.
Exactly. And I'm very diligent in trying to vet these people because I want people that can always look at the best interest of the client. I'm looking at their character, and I'm also looking at their competency, and I'm also want to look at how they think, and are they willing to step outside the box? Because many times the solutions aren't your traditional solutions. We might have to do something that's a little bit different that's out there to get the family the solution that they need. And so I want experts that also can say, look, I can think broader than just, X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I got to be honest with you, Matt. It's the word virtual. It always gets me a little bit because you think about virtual reality, right?
Yes.
Putting on these goggles and you're not really in the location. Now, I've said for years that if they come out with a bike, a stationary bike or a treadmill where I can immerse myself in a hike or riding a bicycle and I truly feel like I'm in the place I'm riding a bicycle, I would exercise more. But I would love that, right? Because, oh man, right. I'm in Nebraska. It's flat as a pancake here. If I could get on a treadmill and then feel like I'm hiking in the mountains, oh man, next to a river, oh, that'd be beautiful. So that kind of conjures up those ideas of I'm not really there, but you actually do meet with people physically. They actually you're not Max Headroom, you're not this head in a box kind of thing talking at them. You actually will meet with people, right?
Oh, that's exactly right. And I think it's important to have FaceTime with clients and prospects because that's where you truly get a feel for the person. And so that's a real important aspect. But the beauty of being virtual is that I don't have to be there all the time. If a client is in another state, we can web conference at a time that's convenient for them. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We can, the telephone is always available. You talked about the whole exercise concept, and this is already happening when you look at like Peloton or Mir.
They're getting close. Yeah.
They're getting much, much closer. Yeah, so it's kind of the same concept where we don't necessarily always have to be there all the time, but it is important, and I do believe in this, that at least once a year that we're getting together in person, face to face, because again, there's no better way to develop that human connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the whole thing with virtual reality with me is I want that immersive experience. And I think that that's what we've talked about in that first podcast. And that's what you're kind of explaining now is that it is a truly immersive experience because you're identifying all the different needs the family has alongside them. You're working as a team and then being able to bring in those other pieces. That's, those other professionals. That's the immersive experience I think anybody's looking for, that they know that they're going to be taken care of it. And you're not the attorney. You're not the CPA, but you have the team in place that you can surround this family with so that it is completely taking care of the needs for their next 5, 10, 15, 20 years into the next generation.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think, one of the beauties of being virtual too is that I don't have to be there all the time. And what that does, that reduces cost, not only to myself, but to the client. So I can offer these services at a much more affordable rate because I don't have the overhead that the traditional family office would have. And again, it's also from a time standpoint. Most business owners are busy and they don't have time all the time to come to drive into an office, to park their car, to wait in the waiting room, then have a 45 to an hour minute meeting and then, leave, drive back. That can consume 2-3 hours out of their day. Mm-hmm. By being able to fill in with virtual meetings, we can be very time efficient and they can do it at the convenience from their office or from their home.
Absolutely. So walk us through this. How does this work?
Well, basically, the first thing I do is I tap into my own experience, again, being part of a family practice, and then also over the last 20, 25 years, working with family businesses in many different roles. I think I mentioned the last time that I'd been in sales, and again, a lot of little family, machine shops, convenience stores, things like that. And then again, getting into financial services, started working with business owners. So I pull that experience and the experience of those business owners. So I know the challenges that they face. That's kind of the first step of the process. So, and I'm actually going to go into more detail in subsequent podcasts about my 5-step process. But just to highlight it right now, the first step of that process is I want to sit down with all the interested parties. So not just the business owner, but with family members, maybe key employees, whoever might be a part of that business, and help them to create a vision for the family, for the individuals, and for the business. I think the one thing that's missed many times is we have financial capital that's in a business, but there's also human capital, not only in the business, but in the family. And the human capital is actually much more valuable than even the financial capital. Mm-hmm. So we want to address all of those people that are involved to try to create a common vision. So that's really the first step. So then in the second step, I want to look at what their current situation is. Where do they stand now? Are they addressing anything within this vision? Are there shortfalls, which most of the time there are? Okay. Mm-hmm. So once I'm able to do that, then we can start to formulate a plan, or as I like to call, a roadmap to guide them toward their vision. Because I don't know if you remember the old AAA trip tickets.
No, what are those?
Oh, you must be much younger than me. So when I was a kid, we would go to the beach every year, and my dad would go to AAA, and they would give him what was called a trip ticket. And in that trip ticket, they would have it was a map, and they would basically outline the route that you would take to go to wherever. If we were going to Avalon, New Jersey, they would outline the roads that we should take. But they'd also mark like, hey, there's construction in this area. You may want to detour in this area. So they'd help you to find the best route. But the beauty of the trip ticket was because you had a map, if you ran into something that was unexpected, you had the map that was there to say, here's where we can detour to avoid this. And so that's how I look at these financial plans, is really as kind of a roadmap that we're constantly working on and adapting as life changes. So that's the third step. So then in the fourth step, we go to implement the plan. And the other thing I want to look at is I want to address any risks that may arise. Death, divorces, disability, anything like that. We want to make sure that we're planning ahead and putting things in place that can help us, the resources in place to help us to navigate around those challenges that client may face. So then the fifth part of the step is then again to monitor and make adjustments as life changes and the problems arise. So again, as we're implementing the plan, we may bring in outside professionals, but then as we monitor and make adjustments, I can also bring these outside experts in when needed. And then what I do is I coordinate or quarterback the solutions with these experts. So basically, I tell clients, think of me as your 411 when you need information and your 911 when you have an emergency.
There you go. And then a general GPS. I mean, that's kind of what you're explaining with the trip tickets, right? You've got the GPS that you can say, here's a thing. We're probably going to take a little detour, or we always like it when say rerouting, recalculating route. Well, we're going to do some recalculations because things happen, right? I mean, you brought up death and divorce and other things. I mean, there's things that happen that are out of our control completely. And then there are things that are in our control that are positive or negative, right? So maybe somebody's going to get married. Maybe somebody's going to adopt a child, or they're going to have a baby. Man, all these things are, there's positives and negatives that we just have to be prepared for. And nobody can be fully prepared, especially for a child. that'll really change your life. But it's nice to know that you've got the bank behind you, if you will. I'm using air quotes on a podcast, which of course you can't see, but the bank of experts behind you that can help you navigate that and pivot if you need to, or reroute or recalculate.
That's exactly right. And again, like I said, it's nice to have just one point of contact instead of you trying to figure out exactly where you need to go. You have access to all of these different experts that are out there, and you just call me and I can tie them in. Nice.
That's great. Matt, the virtual office to me is, again, as a business owner, and honestly, if you ask my wife, as somewhat a hermit, I lock myself in my office and I work and try to get everything done. And then I also like to just hang out at home with the family, and I don't necessarily like to go places unless I really have to, which is a good and bad thing. But the virtual office intrigues me, and I like the concept. I like what you're doing. Why do you think this is so important in today's day and age, like right now? I mean, I know that the technology has changed to enable this really, really well. Like, we're virtual right now. You and I are not in the same building. We're not in the same recording studio. We're, probably 1,000 miles away from each other at least, but we're able to do this. So why is this so important right now for families to be thinking about?
Well, as I stated before, most small business owners and family businesses, they have the same needs that the ultra high net worth family has. Mm-hmm. But again, they don't have access to the resources because of the cost. So being virtual allows me to bring that to those clients. But I think the other thing that's really important is most business owners, they don't have the time, the interest, or the expertise to manage every aspect of their business in their lives, because they'd rather spend their time either in their businesses with their families or working in their community. Mm-hmm. And so by doing it virtually, when they have something that kind of comes up, they don't have to worry about, again, hopping in the car, driving to an office, having a conversation, where virtually, because of technology, we can do a webcast. I mean, one story, I had a client who owns a propane business, and I was actually at the beach with my family, and he had called with a problem, and I was actually sitting on the beach with my, and I had my phone and my iPad, and so I was talking to him, and I was working through this situation with him, and all of a sudden he stops, he goes, "What's that noise in the background?" I said, "Well, that's the waves." He's like, "You're on the beach?" I said, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry to bother you," and I said, "No, dude," I said, this is what I do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where I am as long as I'm connected.
Yep. Absolutely.
So it gives them a lot of flexibility, and it gives me flexibility too. So I think the third thing is why it's so grounding is these small business owners, they don't always anticipate what potential risks that they may face. And so, by having somebody like me that has the experience and also is incorporating all these aspects of the family office, I can help them to start thinking about if these things might occur and what can we do to mitigate them, before they happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to say that you brought up something a moment ago. You said they'd rather spend their time working on their business, spending time with their family, or spending time in their community.
Exactly.
And, oh man, there are so many studies out there that talk about the generational wealth of a family. And we're not talking about the uber wealthy. We're not talking about, hundreds of millions of dollars and, or $1 billion in the bank here. We're talking about wealthy families that have maybe a family business that, like we said before, second or third generation, they want to pass down not only the business, but their values. There are studies out there that will tell you that the most effective way to have the next generation take over a family business and do it successfully is by teaching them how to give back to the community as a family together.
Exactly.
So they understand philanthropy. They understand being a presence in their community and getting involved in their community, even if it's not necessarily giving to charities, but spending time or giving time to charities and really instilling that in future generations. And I know that you and I have spoken a little bit about that off air before, but I want to do a podcast on that. I really do. Is that something we could do in the future? Okay.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Let's talk about, multi-generational families, multi-generational businesses, and how to kind of secure that for the future and some of the steps that your clients do. I want to hear some stories from what your clients are doing. And I've got some from my end, from businesses that I've worked with before that have been very successful. And that I think that would be just a fantastic podcast. All right.
Definitely. And just on that note, and actually the next podcast, I'm going to start by kind of outlining the 5-step process that I discussed earlier.
Nice. All right.
But that vision, creating that vision, the idea really behind that is to take that whole multi-generational wealth process and bringing it to the small business owner, because it is something that's important to them. And especially with millennials nowadays, they are very, very charitably inclined.
Absolutely. They get bashed on a lot. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
They get bashed on a lot, but millennials, I think they care more about the community. They care more about the environment, and they're really leading the way in helping to, my generation, to help us understand why it's so important to be involved instead of just nose to the grindstone, keeping my focus only in one spot and being able to give back in big ways. So I love the leadership they're showing. So that's great.
Definitely. I got 3 of them as kids, so.
Right on. We have to talk nicely about them for sure.
Oh, exactly. True.
All right. So kind of moving into, I know we're kind of wrapping this podcast up here in a few minutes, but why should clients or your prospects, when you're having this conversation, I don't know how to phrase this question real well, but why should they really care about a virtual office compared to a regular family office? Besides price, we've talked about price point and all, but why should they really care at this moment?
Well, we named this podcast "Your Business, Your Life" because our lives, both personal and family, they revolve around their businesses, especially in the family business, and also their business revolves around their life and family. And the two really become inseparable. If there's a problem in one, there's going to be problems in the other.
I agree. Yep.
So that's why there's a value in having a one point of contact for all your financial issues, and knowing that in addition to that contact, you also have access to a team of experts that can help you to achieve your goals and to solve your problems. So I think it's having that, again, understanding that our business is our life is our business. And if we've got somebody who can kind of help us navigate all aspects of that, it's going to make our lives much easier and, again, free us up to do the things that are most important to us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me. You've said this a couple times. Having that one point of contact.
Correct.
But let me ask you this: as a small business owner, if I have a question about my taxes, right? I've got a quick question. I saw something, a blip on the news. Can I reach out to the accountant that maybe you've hooked me up with, or is part of your team, or is that something where I have to go through you?
Well, you could go directly to the CPA. I mean, most of my business owners have their own CPA, so. Like if you look on my website, I typically don't list the CPAs and attorneys because most of these small business owners already have one and they've already developed a relationship with them. But the one thing I do is I do have them sign a release of information that allows me to talk to that CPA or that attorney about their personal situation. Now they could go directly to them and that's fine too. But if it's easier for them, they can come to me and I can then get the answers that they need. So it really depends on how they want to work it. But they have that flexibility that if they say, look, I just want to call Matt. And that's actually what many of my clients tell me. They like having that just one point of contact. I don't want to have to, is this really a tax issue? A lot of times they think it might be, but they're not sure. By coming to me, I can say this is, and I'll talk to the CPA about it, or it might not be, and get them in another direction.
Yeah, I love that. So you've got a deep bench, as we say, as far as
Correct.
The people that you've worked with and the professionals that you've built and cultivated relationships with, and have that trusting relationship with. But if a family already has a CPA that they've got a relationship with, you're more than willing to work with them as well. You don't have to replace them. So you're not looking to replace any team members. You're looking to incorporate team members that they maybe don't have, and also incorporate the team members they already have into one location, and you being the main point of contact to get the job done.
Exactly. And think of it as an enhancement to their current situation.
There you go. That's a great word. All right, we are running out of time. What is the one thing, if you had one thing that you need to tell the audience that's listening out there, what's the most important thing they need to hear from today?
Well, I think the key thing is to ask yourself a question, and that is, as a business owner, what is the value of having one point of contact for your financial, business, and personal concerns that can then free you up to spend time in your business, with your family, or in community? If you think that there might be value in something like that, then I would suggest contact us. You can go to our website. It's DiFranVFO.com, and then that's DiFranVFO.com. And up at the top, there's a button that says schedule a 30-minute introductory call. One thing I offer to everybody is I will give anybody 30 minutes of my time, no obligation, to assess your situation and see if there's any way that we might be able to help. And the one thing I promise, because I'm very much about providing value to everybody, is even if I can't help you, the one thing I promise is I will get you pointed in the right direction. So go to our website, click a time to call, be more than happy to chat with anybody. If you know anybody who that question may resonate with, share this podcast with them and let them take a listen, and they can make an evaluation for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited about this next podcast. You're going to be diving into your 5-step process, but yes, maybe we add a step, and that would be make the phone call, set up that 30-minute quick consultation to get to know Matt and see what it looks like to start that process. And again, Matt, thank you so much for your time today. I'm looking forward to the next podcast.
No problem. I am too, Eric.
All right. And thank you all for listening to the Your Business, Your Life with Matt DiFrancesco. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Matt comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. It also makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thanks so much for listening today. For everyone at DiFrancesco Virtual Family Office, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Your Business, Your Life podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of DiFrancesco Virtual Family Office. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investment, legal, or tax advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or another qualified professional with any questions you may have regarding your business or personal planning. DiFrancesco Financial Concierge, LLC, doing business as DiFrancesco Virtual Family Office, is a registered investment advisor. Registration with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission or any state securities authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training.